Hi, my name is Nevethita, and I've been in GIIS for 12 years, and I was part of GIIS Queenstown. And I vividly remember GIIS Queenstown was a very large campus, so there would be a lot of students running around. And one of the most important things was the school garden that we used to have, and we would cut down plastic bottles, put soil in it, and then call it hanging gardens. And I think that greenery is something that I will always remember about GIS Queenstown. I personally think when they say IB is a very rigorous program, I would call it an understatement because you really have to devote a lot of your time to studying as well as extracurricular activities. It's not just completely studies, and it's also a lot about real world applications because when you learn theories and concepts in class, it's not just about learning them and then just applying them in the exam. The teachers itself tell you, okay, think about how the theory can be applied in the real world. And whatever activities that we have to do or whatever tasks that we have to accomplish is always associated with those real life examples. So in that way, the exposure that I got from the curriculum, I don't think I would have gotten it in any other curriculum or school. So yeah, I think that's what I remember. I think the teachers' contribution, especially last year, given that home-based learning came in very fast, and the way that they handled the whole thing was extremely well. Even when I was making, I think, the graduation speech and thanking the teachers, I was compelled to say that, the teachers really understood technology. Despite any angles or, the camera problems, they would spend more than enough time making sure that they understood the programs and then how that could translate to us. So I remember for our maths teacher, Mr. Srinivasa, he would go and sit and research YouTube links, even if they were in another language. He'd just look at the math and he'd be like, okay, look at this. Or in terms of the Zoom platform, he would really try and find creative ways like using Microsoft OneNote, copy pasting the whole thing. And I think all those initiatives that they took, because in home-based learning we felt very remote, that kind of initiative kind of propelled us to study more, to take equal initiative as them. And yeah, I think we just manifested what we saw. We used to do a lot of extracurricular activities. Sometimes even I would dedicate more of my time for extracurricular activities than academics. And I remember that when I did that, my teacher, my economics teacher, Ms. Aparajita ma'am, told me that I think it was during pre-board 1, and that's when we're supposed to get our predicted grades. And I had missed my 7 by 1 mark. And I told her, could you please, it's just 1 mark, could you just please give it to me? And she really said, in my opinion, I think you should devote more time to academics, really work for that 7. I know you just lost it by 1 mark, but you should really push yourself, devote as much as time as you can to economics and study well. So I think in pre-board 2, I tried to follow her words, and I think that really showed because in pre-board 2, she really came and told me, yeah, okay, now in my full confidence, I think, you can get that 7. So I think those kind of advice and that kind of statements really stuck with me. And on result day, I quoted her. I was like, see, you said this. And I really remembered that. And yeah, I think that was one of the things that I remembered. Well, managing my extracurricular activities and academics was not easy because I chose 4 higher level subjects, which meant that the rigor of the program, it was already very rigorous, and I just kind of made it worse for myself. But I remember my coordinator, Ms. Deepa ma'am, she really told me, okay, in IBR 1, you can spend as much as time doing these extracurricular activities, but in IBR 2, pick 2 things or pick 1 thing that is an outlet for your stress or your creativity, or when academics gets a bit too tedious, you can shift your focus to that. So, and then she said, okay, 50% of your time devote to academics and then split it according to just those 2 extracurricular activities. I think narrowing my focus down to just 2 that I loved the most really helped me in terms. So I kind of dipped my toe in everything, saw what interested me at the start in IBO 1, and then IBO 2, I narrowed it down to what I wanted to do the most and spend my time in the most. In IBO 1, I was doing a lot of Model United Nations. I was participating in a lot of public speaking competitions, and also I was participating in a lot of entrepreneurship promoting competitions, which meant like we had to start up our own startup company, we had to give shares, get money, and then make a product and all of that. So these were national wide competitions, and so it really took up a lot of my time, as well as I was participating with my dance team in a lot of dance competitions as well. So, and I used to play the violin for 8 years. So I had to manage all of these simultaneously. And in IBO 2, I narrowed it down to just focusing on violin and learning it. And I also, because I needed a stress outlet, I was doing mixed martial arts. So yeah, only those two. I stuck to just them. My favorite subject, I think I have a very cliche answer, which means I can't choose my favorite subject, because at the start of the IB orientation, they very clearly told us that if you do not choose the subjects that you love, you clearly won't be able to get through the rigor of the curriculum. And so I really took that advice to heart and just picked the subjects that I knew would motivate me to actually study, because I had so much interest in those subjects. So I think in terms of my higher level subjects, I picked the ones that I loved the most: economics, psychology, English. All of these were essay-based subjects, so that is where my interests were at, and I think I just chose like that. My plan for my future studies is to study law at UK. And I think, as I mentioned before, the essay-based subjects, I think except math, all my subjects were essay-based. And believe it or not, that really helped me kind of affirm that I actually had an interest to study and read law, because law is a very essay-based and English-oriented subject. So I think my subjects merely just affirmed my passion to read law. Yeah. So the one thing, being in GIIS for 12 years, I would say that it's very scary to step out to something new, not just out of Singapore, but like out of Singapore and to the UK, because for 12 years, GIIS is all I kind of knew. And one thing I would terribly miss is the community that GIIS fosters. It's, again, when I talk about IB, as much as it's an independent learner subject, curriculum, that's very true. But I think the community that GIIS offered me was the backbone that kind of propelled me forward to kind of get through the whole curriculum. And whether it's students, whether it's my fellow friends, whether it's teachers, everybody, the support staff, everyone made me feel like I was always a part of something. And when I was in 3rd grade, I always knew there would be someone that will bring me to 4th grade. And that kind of continuity was there, assurance was there. And I think the GIIS student communities and the teachers would be what I miss the most. Yeah. So in terms of career counseling, I remember that there was a very, they planned the schedule or the timeline ahead. So it was very easy for us confused students, because we wouldn't know anything, but then there was a fixed timeline. And so we'd have that faith that, okay, we are on track, we are on schedule. And we would, because I applied to the UK, we had the UCAS system. And because I applied to certain universities that required us to apply before all other students, like the University of Cambridge, we really had to rely on Seema ma'am to kind of guide us through, because we were just a bunch of maybe 12 students. And at that particular time, she came up with a webinar. She sat and taught us what we had to do, the process, as well as she gave us a lot of contacts with our seniors. So the seniors, the GIIS alumni who were in these kind of universities, we were in contact with them. We read the material that they wrote to the universities, and what kind of passion we needed to have to really pick, for example, law as our further studies. And in terms of all of that career advice and what to do, I think she was very helpful over there. I think in terms of extracurricular activities, I personally remember, I think in 6th grade or something, GIS in the Global School Awards, there was this one particular award called All-Rounder Excellence. And it was for the person who had, dipped their toe and achieved things in those 9 gems model. And in terms of the activities that they gave us to fulfill all those 9 gems, I think they were a lot. In terms of GIS Junkar, I constantly participated in it. There was another competition called Dancing with Stars. We went for that as well. And I think our dance teacher at that point was really pushing us to attend as many dance competitions as possible, and because that was the time. And I think GIS MUN was, now that I look back, was one of the first ever platforms that I had received in terms of public speaking. And I think my experience in that, although at the start it wasn't like, it's a whole new world. So getting into it, learning the concepts, and then we had GISMon every single year, we had the GIS Law Summit, and all of these kind of really reinforced my belief that I wanted to do law in the future. I was good at public speaking. And so those platforms really helped me kind of transfer my skills to academics as well, I think, over there. Yeah. In the IB program, we are supposed to write something called the extended essay. And I had particularly chosen world studies, which means I did not choose one subject. I had chosen a fusion of global politics and psychology. And my supervisor for that was Miss Deepa, my primary supervisor. And I had chosen a topic about the Rohingya crisis in Myanmar and whatnot. And when she sat down and read my essay, she would actually treat me as an independent researcher. She actually said, Nevethita, nobody knows the research as much as you do. And so the way she would frame her advice was very different. I would boast about it to all my friends. It would be, if she found something in the essay that she had a particular question about, for example, does this argument have a lot of evidence to support it? She wouldn't ask me that. She would say, what do you think about this argument? I think that kind of responsibility that she gave me, the space to really work on my essay as much as possible, work on my research as much as possible, and be like more than confident about the work that I give. The way she treated me, the space she gave me, the responsibility she gave me, that was the exemplar for independent growth. I think that particular instance I vividly remember in terms of. I think as cliche as it sounds, time management is the most important thing possible, because I have been there. I've made all sorts of mistakes in terms of time management, and I think just picking the right kind of subjects, the subjects that you love, and not just for pursuing something or because of peer pressure or whatnot. Just choosing the right subjects and just picking 1 or 2 extracurricular activities that you really like and would like to devote your time to the most. And I think those 2 are very important. So managing, like pre-planning is very important, especially if you're choosing such a rigorous curriculum. And again, as I mentioned, the word rigorous is a huge understatement when you actually go through the experience. So throughout, I think, my school life, I was trying to be a part of the student council. I think I was part of the student council almost every year. I'm not too sure. And I think at the last IBR 2, I was the head girl of the school, and then IBR 1 I was deputy head girl. And I think in terms of that kept me quite busy, in the sense that it really told me about leadership, and it was listening to my peers, trying to use my responsibility as much as possible to help them out. It wasn't just like, add another physical education period or something like that. It was more about the school canteen, what they wanted to see over there, or how they wanted to see the school classroom. And so listening and then trying to use my responsibility or the privilege that I had to talk to the teachers and then really communicate the ideas that the students gave us. I think those kind of qualities was what I honed from those kind of activities that I devoted my time to. Yeah. I think the one word that would accurately describe GIS is foundation, because the foundation that GIS gave me, whether in terms of the community-wise, the academic excellence, and I really emphasize on that because the competitiveness or the academic rigor in GIS is a lot. At the same time, they really make you comfortable to pursue such, competitive. They make you comfortable to be in that competitive environment. I think, yeah. So in terms of everything, because I've been in the school for 12 years, I think that's what I think. It's going to be the foundation for any other pursuit that I have from now onwards.